Ladies, if you've ever been in a relationship with a man, then you know the struggle that comes when it's time for him to admit certain things. Now, I'm not talking about small stuff like forgetting a birthday or messing up dinner plans. I'm talking about the deeper things that make men squirm in their seats. These are the things that men often struggle with admitting to women, not because they don't care or want to be open, but because it cuts deep. It challenges the very notion of how they perceive themselves, their role in the relationship, and their overall self-image. Let's talk about 3 things that men have a hard time admitting to women. Men struggle with emotional vulnerability because of deep-rooted societal expectations placed on them from an early age. Growing up, boys are often taught that showing emotion is a sign of weakness. They're conditioned to believe that being tough, strong, and in control at all times is the ideal. Society often tells men that if they express sadness, fear, or any form of weakness, they risk being labeled as soft or less than a man. This creates an internal conflict. On one hand, men have natural emotions just like everyone else. But on the other hand, they feel the heavy weight of expectation to suppress those feelings to maintain a sense of masculinity. In relationships, this becomes particularly challenging. When men find themselves in emotional situations, they often feel trapped by the idea that their partner expects them to be a rock steadfast, unshaken, and emotionally unaffected. But underneath that calm exterior, there's often a swirl of emotions they don't know how to express. Rather than open up, many men retreat into themselves, burying their feelings in an attempt to preserve their pride or self-image. For a man, being emotionally vulnerable can feel like exposing himself to judgment or rejection. He might fear that sharing his true feelings will make him seem weak or incapable, even if it's the complete opposite. This fear of vulnerability often results in him keeping his emotions hidden, which can create distance and misunderstandings in relationships. He might not be cold or indifferent. Rather, he might be struggling internally with emotions that he feels he can't share for fear of seeming less than what he believes a man should be. Men often fear rejection and failure, but they struggle to express these fears, especially in relationships. From a young age, men are taught to be resilient, to pick themselves up after a fall, and to never show vulnerability. However, deep down, they harbor insecurities about their worth, their abilities, and their future. The fear of rejection, whether in a personal relationship or career, weighs heavily on them, but it's something they rarely admit. Men are scared that being vulnerable with these feelings will lead to their partners questioning their strength or even their ability to lead. They feel a sense of shame in not being able to control everything or succeed without any setbacks. This fear is often intensified by their desire to maintain the image of a strong, capable man. Admitting to a partner that they're afraid of failing or being rejected might feel like exposing a weakness that could threaten the stability of the relationship. Men worry that if they show doubt, it will make them appear less attractive or less dependable. They might fear that if they share their anxieties, their partner will lose confidence in them, leading to insecurity in the relationship. As a result, many men choose to hide their fears and anxieties, even though those fears are completely normal and human. This internal struggle creates a barrier between men and the emotional closeness they seek in relationships. When a man is unable to communicate his fear of rejection or failure, it often leads to feelings of isolation. His partner might not understand why he's distant or withdrawn, not realizing that he's simply trying to protect himself from feeling exposed or vulnerable. It's not that he doesn't trust you, it's that he doesn't want to burden you with what he perceives as his weaknesses. Men need reassurance, but they often struggle to admit it because of pride and societal pressure to always be self-assured. From an early age, men are taught to stand strong, to be self-sufficient, and to never show doubt. They are expected to be the ones who reassure others. whether it's offering support to friends, family, or their partner. But deep down, men also need validation. They want to know that they're doing a good job, that their efforts are seen, and that they're valued not just for what they do, but for who they are. The issue arises when men feel that asking for reassurance might undermine their image as strong, confident individuals. To them, asking for validation may feel like admitting they're insecure or incapable, which can be difficult to reconcile with the idea of being the dependable, confident partner. Instead of vocalizing their need for reassurance, men often internalize it, letting their self-doubt linger without addressing it. This need for reassurance can manifest in different ways. A man might withdraw when he feels unappreciated, or he might act out by seeking affirmation from external sources. It's not that he doesn't appreciate his partner, it's that he feels uncertain about his role and wants reassurance that he's enough. However, because he's unwilling to express this need directly, it can lead to misunderstandings and tension. His partner might think he's distant or uninterested, when in reality, he's simply craving affirmation that he's doing things right. Men want to know they're being seen and heard, but their fear of seeming weak or needy often prevents them from asking for what they need. Men often avoid confrontational conversations or discussions about emotions because they are uncomfortable with expressing vulnerability. They have been conditioned to believe that emotional discussions can be seen as a sign of weakness or as a challenge to their control. When faced with a difficult conversation, many men will withdraw or deflect rather than face the discomfort head on. This avoidance is not a reflection of their feelings toward the person they're with. It's a manifestation of their internal struggle to maintain emotional composure. In many cases, a man might feel that if he opens up too much, it could lead to conflict or make the situation worse. There's a fear that once emotions are put on the table, it's no longer possible to put them back. This fear of escalation or of not being able to control the emotional dynamics leads him to either shut down or simply avoid the conversation entirely. This withdrawal can create significant distance in relationships. His partner may feel neglected, confused, or rejected, not understanding that the withdrawal is a defense mechanism rather than an indication of disinterest. Men, too, fear that their vulnerability will be used against them either now or in the future, which only deepens their reluctance to engage in tough discussions. The result is often a cycle of unresolved issues that build up over time, eroding the emotional connection. Men tend to internalize pain and stress instead of seeking help or support, often believing that they must handle everything on their own. From a young age, they are taught to be independent, strong, and to endure hardship without showing signs of struggle. This conditioning creates a barrier when it comes to expressing distress or reaching out for assistance. Instead of confronting their emotions, they often bottle them up, fearing that asking for help would make them appear weak or incapable. This internalization can be particularly harmful in relationships, where a man may feel that showing vulnerability could make him seem less reliable or attractive. He may struggle to open up about the weight he's carrying, believing that it's his responsibility alone to bear it. In some cases, this leads to emotional isolation, as he distances himself from his partner in an attempt to avoid burdening them with his issues. The fear of judgment or rejection can stop him from sharing his struggles, even though doing so would likely foster closeness and understanding. Over time, this suppression of emotions can result in a buildup of stress, anxiety, and frustration. Men might feel trapped in their own minds, unable to express what they're going through. Their partner may feel shut out, not understanding why they're suddenly distant or withdrawn. The internalized pain often becomes a barrier to true emotional connection, leaving both partners frustrated and disconnected, even though the solution could be as simple as opening up and allowing support into the relationship. Men often resist asking for help because they feel the pressure to handle problems on their own. From childhood, they are taught to be self-sufficient, to fix things themselves, and to never rely on others. This mindset carries over into adulthood, where men tend to internalize struggles and deal with them in silence. Asking for help can feel like admitting they are incapable or weak, which goes against the ideals of strength and independence they've been conditioned to uphold. In relationships, this resistance to asking for help can cause strain. A man might struggle with an issue but not reach out to his partner for support, even if he knows that doing so could strengthen their bond. He may fear that asking for help will make him appear vulnerable, or that his partner might view him as incapable or less than the strong, reliable figure she expects. This reluctance can lead to unnecessary tension, as the man quietly battles his internal struggles while his partner remains unaware of the emotional weight he's carrying. Men also tend to avoid asking for help because they fear burdening others with their problem. They don't want to seem like they're asking for too much or overwhelming those around them, especially in a relationship where they are expected to provide support and stability. This fear of imposing on others keeps them from opening up, even when they truly need assistance, and it often results in them feeling emotionally isolated, with their struggles remaining unaddressed. Men often struggle with expressing their emotions openly because of the societal expectation that they remain stoic and in control. From a young age, boys are taught to suppress their feelings, especially those related to vulnerability or pain. This conditioning leads many men to believe that if they openly express sadness, frustration, or fear, they risk being seen as weak or overly emotional. Consequently, they often bottle up their emotions, hoping to navigate through life without letting others see their struggle. In relationships, this difficulty with emotional expression can create distance between a man and his partner. While a woman may crave emotional intimacy and communication, a man might feel uncomfortable sharing his deeper feelings, fearing judgment or rejection. He may find it easier to show affection through actions like providing for his partner or being protective rather than verbalizing his emotions. However, when he doesn't open up, his partner may feel disconnected or misunderstood, unsure of what's really going on inside his mind. This reluctance to share emotions can also prevent men from dealing with their own inner turmoil. Instead of acknowledging their feelings, they may engage in unhealthy coping mechanisms like avoiding the issue, distracting themselves with work or hobbies, or even withdrawing from their partner. This emotional suppression can eventually lead to resentment, frustration, and a sense of emotional isolation, preventing true connection and growth in the relationship. Men often avoid conflict in relationships because they fear it could lead to emotional turmoil or even the breakdown of the relationship. Many men have been socialized to believe that they should always maintain peace and harmony, and that confronting issues head on might disrupt the stability they strive to create. This fear of conflict can lead to avoidance tactics, such as shutting down during an argument, withdrawing emotionally, or suppressing their true feelings to prevent a confrontation. Instead of addressing the underlying issues, men might choose to ignore them in hopes that the problem will resolve itself or simply go away. They might convince themselves that avoiding the conversation will spare their partner from unnecessary stress or conflict. However, this avoidance typically results in unresolved issues that build up over time, leaving both partners frustrated and disconnected. When men avoid conflict, it can create a communication barrier, as they may not express what's bothering them or what they need from their partner. This can leave their partner feeling confused or neglected, not understanding why their significant other is distant or unresponsive. Meanwhile, the man is silently carrying the weight of unresolved issues, believing that silence is the best solution. Unfortunately, this can create a cycle of avoidance where neither partner feels truly heard or understood, and the relationship may suffer from a lack of open, honest communication. Men often struggle with balancing their independence and their desire for connection in a relationship. They value their autonomy and the space to pursue their personal goals, interests, and hobbies. However, this need for independence can sometimes conflict with the emotional demands of a relationship, especially when their partner seeks more time, attention, or intimacy. Many men are conditioned to believe that their worth is determined by their achievements and personal success, which can lead them to focus on their individual pursuits over relational bonding. When they feel their independence is threatened, men may withdraw or become distant, not because they don't care about their partner, but because they feel overwhelmed by the pressure to prioritize their relationship at the expense of their personal needs. This can cause tension, as their partner may feel neglected or undervalued, not understanding why the man is pulling away. On the other hand, the man may feel torn, wanting to meet his partner's emotional needs while also maintaining the sense of freedom he has worked hard to establish. This struggle often stems from a deep-rooted fear of losing themselves in the relationship or becoming too dependent on their partner. They want to feel secure in their identity and continue pursuing their passions without feeling guilty or constrained by the expectations of the relationship. However, this balancing act can create strain if both partners are not open about their needs and are not able to communicate effectively. Men often have difficulty expressing their insecurities, especially when it comes to their physical appearance, financial status, or emotional vulnerabilities. Society has conditioned them to appear strong, self-assured, and capable at all times, which means admitting to doubts or fears feels like a betrayal of this image. As a result, they often suppress feelings of inadequacy or low self-esteem, fearing judgment or rejection. This suppression creates a barrier in relationships, as their partner may sense their discomfort but not understand the underlying cause. Instead of openly discussing their insecurities, men may try to compensate by acting more confident or distancing themselves from emotional conversations. They might make jokes or deflect attention away from areas where they feel insecure, hoping to cover up any perceived flaws. This can lead to misunderstandings, as their partner may feel like they are being shut out or dismissed, not realizing that the man is struggling with his own internal battles. The inability to express these vulnerabilities can create an emotional disconnect in the relationship. If a man constantly hides his insecurities, it prevents his partner from truly understanding him. It also increases the risk of miscommunication, as the partner may interpret his silence or defensive behavior as disinterest or lack of care. The fear of judgment and a desire to maintain an image of perfection keep many men from sharing their true selves, and it often leaves them feeling emotionally isolated, even in a committed relationship. These things, emotional vulnerability, fear, and the need for reassurance here, at the core of what many men struggle to admit to a woman. It's not about lack of trust, it's about pride, ego, and societal conditioning. They want to appear strong, capable, and unwavering. But the truth is, every man has his moments of uncertainty, fear, and need for validation, just like anyone else. What you can do as a woman is create an environment where it's okay for him to express those things. Let him know it's safe to be vulnerable, that you're there to support him, and that he doesn't have to carry everything alone. When a man knows that he can lean on you without fear of judgment, that's when true intimacy and trust can begin to flourish. So next time he's holding something back, don't be quick to dismiss it. Understand that behind that silence might be something deeper that he's struggling to admit. All it takes is patience, understanding, and a willingness to create the space for him to open up.